Governor Terry Branstad addressed the legislature on Tuesday. His 30-minute speech focused on two items: creating jobs and education reform. Branstad listed 10 education goals he wants in legislation this year. CRI sat down with Oskaloosa School Superintendent Russ Reiter and Curriculum Director Mary Cooksley for their reaction on two goals in the governor's plan. So the first item is prospective Iowa teachers need a minimum B college GPA to get into a teaching program in Iowa. Branstad says we need a great teacher in every classroom and a great principal in every building. He added regarding the proposed standard, it's not asking too much, and I'll start with Mary Cooksley. Is it asking too much? We've talked about this before, this GPA requirement. Is it asking too much, or is it the wrong question we should be asking our prospective teachers?
Well, when we've talked about this before, I'm not really sure yet, and I was talking with Russ this morning, and I waver on this a little bit because of the art and science of teaching. I agree that we need the best quality teacher in the classroom. That is not an argument. But whether or not you need a B grade point average is something that I wonder about.
Mr. Reiter, your thoughts, is this a good standard to put in place, or are there other ways that we can gauge the level of incoming teachers?
Yeah, I tend to support the 3.0, but my concern would be one, much like Dr. Cooksley had just said, teaching and so much of teaching is an art. And just because you're highly intelligent and you come into a classroom doesn't mean you're going to be a great teacher. The other thing I worry about a little bit is how many students from Iowa, knowing that I have to have a 3.0 when you get to an Iowa college, are going to go out of state. And if they're going to jump across the border to a Northwest Missouri State or Mankato State or jump across into Illinois, become a teacher there, graduate, and then come back in. So will we see potential teachers going across the border, getting their education, and coming back into our state?
Goal number 3, Branstad wants principals to have more time to observe and coach teachers in the classroom. He says other staff can take some of the management tasks off the hands of principals. And I'll start with you, Mr. Reiter, do principals need more time to observe their teachers in the classroom and maybe help them along?
Yes, and I think the devil's in the details with that particular comment and goal. By all means, we need to get our principals into the classroom. They need to be evaluating teachers, and in fact, I think part of Branstad's goals also include having summative evaluations for every teacher every year. And if that's part of the goal, we're going to need a lot more time for those principals to get into the classrooms. My concern about the SAMS program, and again, this is just my concern, is
the SAMS program?
Yeah, it's the. If you look at the acronym of what this is, by getting that extra individual into the administration so that they can take care of some of the daily duties off the principal's plate. That particular program, I'm not sure if that's how it could be best used. The state's not putting forth any money for us to hire that individual. And to be honest with you, if I had the opportunity to hire an individual in a building, I would much rather have an instructional coach, a person who is skilled, who can go into every classroom, help each teacher with instructional methods, and show teachers how to improve their teaching.
Mrs. Cooksley, agree or other thoughts?
We agree on certain points, but I kind of like the SAM idea, but I also like the instructional coach idea. I think those two in concert would really help our principals to be able to be that instructional leader that we need them to be. To have that instructional coach at the elementary level, if you can imagine them going in and helping them with reading strategies or math strategies, where maybe the principal isn't the expert on math, but they are on maybe instruction, so small group instruction. So they could work in concert with that instructional coach during their evaluations, during their walkthroughs, during providing them feedback. I think I like those two, but again, they're not funding that idea.
Reiter mentioned the SAMS program, an acronym for School Administration Manager Project, a program where schools employ someone to split certain duties with the building principals. Superintendent Reiter sits on the CRI Executive Board. To watch more of our interview with Reiter and Cooksley, go to our website, www.critv.org.
The Oskaloosa School District might use nearby forest as classroom space, and the school is looking to buy some new buses. For more on the issues that came up during this month's school board meeting, we toss it to Jonathan Gregg.
Maureen, the Oskaloosa School District is thinking about turning some nearby forest into a classroom. The school owns 150 acres of land north and east of the high school. Superintendent Russ Reiter says he's working with the Iowa Department of Natural Resources on developing opportunities for students, including lessons on forest and deer management. Reiter is working on the project with DNR forester Jeremy Cochran. The district needs some new rides, apparently. Director of Operations Dale Nelson says the school's bus fleet is getting pretty old. He says most of his buses are a decade old, meaning it's more expensive to repair them and keep them in line with state safety standards. He's hoping to find 2 or 3 new or like new buses, but they get pretty expensive. He says a brand new 84 passenger bus can cost more than $100,000. The district has not decided yet how much it's willing to spend buying more buses. Finally, the Iowa Department of Education is working on a No Child Left Behind waiver and wants to know what schools think. The waiver, if approved by the federal government, would give Iowa schools flexibility regarding guidelines set by NCLB. Iowa's Department of Education Director Jason Glass is expected to hold a meeting sometime this year with school administrators from across the state. Superintendent Russ Reiter and Curriculum Director Mary Cooksley are planning on attending to find out more. The next school board meeting is Tuesday, February 14th. Maureen?